welcome into Around the Felt. I am your host, Reagan Loescher. Here with me today is my little brother, Colin Tong.
Little brother?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be big brother.
I'm bigger than you.
In what sense?
Every sense. Everyone. Think of every sense. I could be bigger than him. I am.
Well, I could think of a better sense. Hand me my belt over there.
Yo, you want the belt?
Yeah, I'm going to whip your ass with it.
Here. This is Reagan's championship belt.
Yes, sir.
League.
I forgot to show you guys this last week. Team name, Master Bateman. But yeah, this is the belt I won. Pretty freaking cool. Colin's actually never had one of these. I got it from Evan Anderson, who made it a little stinky. We don't need to get into more details. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'll be wearing it for the pod since I earned it.
Good
Fair
for you,
and
man.
square.
Hey, I got to tip the cap. You built a great ball club. What do you want me to do?
It's one thing to say. It's another thing to do it.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, tip your cap. Thank you.
All right, Reagan. A lot of news for, 24 hours since we did the last pod.
Yeah.
We're going to start with college football news. Huge news today. Nick Saban, the greatest coach of our era, arguably the greatest coach of all time, announces his retirement. I was shocked. I'm sure you were shocked. First thoughts, potential replacements, how this affects college football as a whole.
First thoughts that came to my mind was it's just funny that he decided to retire when we were all talking about Bill Belichick, who is the greatest coach of all time, retiring. And then it's like, oh shit, Nick Saban just retired. So my first thought from an NFL perspective is, what's going to happen with Belichick now? I wonder if this changes.
They are buddies. They're very good friends.
With that, but also it's just crazy. I not expected at all. I figured he would have wanted to go out on a championship, but definitely makes it interesting. And who will become the head coach there? Is it one of the guys that maybe Texas and Lane Kiffin? No, not Lane Kiffin.
Steve Sarkisian.
Steve Sarkisian. Lane
Texas
Kiffin
coach.
is
Lane
at
Kiffin,
Ole Miss. Yes.
There's
who else?
Mike Norvell from Florida State.
Mike Norvell from Florida State came up.
Maybe Kirby Smart from Georgia.
I don't know.
No, that would be.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That'd be
Marcus
wild.
Freeman from Notre Dame was floated around. James Franklin from Penn State was floated around.
That'd be so funny if it was James Franklin.
My first thought was, wow. And I thought, did the NIL and the new landscape of college football have an effect on this?
Maybe.
Saban, at his age, it's a lot.
I was going to say age is probably the biggest
thing. It's a lot. At his age, it's no longer just recruiting high school athletes, which he's been maybe not the best, probably the best. Let's be honest. Probably the best. The past 15 years.
Also, I mean, who knows what's going on medically when you get older like that? You know what I mean? There's stuff that he's not going to disclose to the general public.
Yeah, I mean
I'm not going to assume anything's going on, but I mean,
could be in play.
It's always in play. And,
I don't know.
And with another guy we'll get into next, it's Pete Carroll, who also I don't know. It was weird because they didn't fire him and they didn't. We'll get
into Pete. We'll get into Pete, but I want to just
you want to talk more
about Saban.
All right.
I think the NIL probably had a factor here. The transfer portal, that's a pain in the ass. And the expanded playoff, now with players getting all this money. I just feel like it was a lot for Saban at this point. I agree with you. I'm surprised that he went out in a loss. They've fallen behind Georgia the past couple years. Granted, they did beat him in the SEC championship this year, but Georgia just seems to have the upper leg on him now. Potential replacements. Lane Kiffin, I don't know. I like Lane Kiffin there. Because at Ole Miss, he's probably been the best coach they've had.
Yeah.
Ever. They just had a fucking 10-win season.
Yeah, and their quarterback's pretty good in dart.
Yeah, Alabama is the premier job in college football. So even if a guy's at a top 10 program, doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't be interested here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess it would really depend on what their contract is already. But, some of those jobs, it's like, it almost seems like a lateral move in a sense. Like, if you were to leave Texas or, well, obviously not Georgia, but some of those other big programs already, like, is it really worth it? Like, you've already built up those programs, like, to make a lateral move.
Yes, I hear what you're saying with Steve Sarkisian at Texas, because let's be honest, Texas is the top 5 biggest brand in college football. They just made the playoffs.
So why leave?
They're there already, and they have a ton of talent.
Yeah.
Granted, if the coach leaves, they can go with him with the transfer portal now. But Steve Sarkisian reestablished his career at Alabama under Saban, so maybe that comes into play. I'm not sure, but it's the most coveted job in college football. I also saw Dabo Swinney potentially. That'd be interesting.
Now that's a hot take there.
Yeah, we got a hot take down now.
Jimbo Fisher. That's a hot take.
Jimbo Fisher.
That'd be hilarious.
What about Kirby Smart?
Hot take.
Don't wear it.
Hot take. Okay.
What about David Kurzrock?
It's actually Drock.
What about Drock? Not a hot take.
Not a hot take.
Not hot.
All right, let's move on to Pete Carroll. You mentioned Reagan. He is no longer the Seahawks head coach. Fired, but not really. He's going to stay in the organization in an advisory role. What do you think? age definitely a factor here, but he just said a couple days ago he still feels young and he still wants to coach.
Yeah, I guess it kind of comes down to that Seattle's probably going to be going into a rebuild. Now this is a team I definitely think is going to be drafting a quarterback in the draft. I think we can say goodbye to Geno Smith. I think they're going to get a new coach in there. He's going to go get his quarterback in the draft. But, hey, maybe Michael Penix to Seahawks? I don't know. Seems like a good matchup. Keep him right in Washington.
Oh, I like that take, Reagan, because I think he's going to be going in the middle of the first rounds. Probably
everything's adding up there.
Down in the second round, so maybe the Seahawks take Penix.
Yeah, keep him
out
in
of
Washington.
And a lot of people are saying, this was Rappaport and Schefter right when the news broke, watch out for Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn.
Yeah, well, because he came from that same coaching tree. Yes,
he was under Carroll in Seattle. If he were to take a head coaching gig, because he turned him down last year waiting for the right opportunity, Seattle just screams the right opportunity to
or come get Robert Saleh from the Jets. We'll trade him to you.
You don't like Saleh?
No, I don't not like him, but if we were to get some picks, I'm not going to say no.
I hear you. The Giants and Wink today settled their dispute, agreed to mutually part ways. The way it came out was basically Wink can sign wherever he wants, but the Giants were going to keep the $3 million they were going to owe him, which kind of sounds like Wink won, because at the end of the day, if he was still under contract, the Giants could block any lateral move, so he can't go to a team in the division.
So now he might be going to a team in the division.
A lot of people are speculating he's going to end up in Philly, which is going to fuel that rivalry even more.
Oh.
I don't know, man. I mean...
Are you worried?
I mean, I don't want Wink in the division. He was just with Dable for 2 years. I mean, that's just never good.
So you're worried.
I wouldn't say I'm worried. The Eagles are already a better team, but, adding our former defensive coordinator
What's your reaction? Say he goes to the Eagles. How do you react?
I'm pissed off for 24 hours and I move on because our defense wasn't elite under Wink, but he did draw up some exotic game plans, some great blitzes. I think he did a good job, and he also unlocked Dexter Lawrence. Okereke was a stud.
Now he goes to Dallas after Dan Quinn hypothetically leaves. How do you react?
I'd be pissed. See, that's the thing. If Dan Quinn leaves, I think Philly's going to fire their DC. Washington clean staff.
Oh, no.
There's going to be three openings in the NFC East.
You think? No, they went 100% hard. Are you kidding me? Their defense is getting torched every week.
Yeah, every week. There's going to be 3 openings in the NFC East. I just pray to God he doesn't take one of them.
I would be shocked if it was Washington. I would be shocked if it was Washington, to be honest.
Why do you think that?
I just feel like if whoever they end up getting, like, they're going to want to handpick their guys. So I would be shocked if a young guy comes in and decides he wants a guy who's been around for a while. Like, I feel like he'll already have his guy in mind.
Yeah, but Daboll took his first head coaching gig with the Giants, and he brought in Wink.
Yeah, but it was a better situation. Like, I feel like Wink doesn't want to go... If he's going to go somewhere, he wants to go somewhere where he can compete and be a playoff team. Like, Washington's ways away.
Yeah, the Giants were ways away, supposedly, before he came in last year.
Yeah, but it's also New York. It's a big market.
It is. That's why he said it's a destination job. Apparently, it's not a destination job.
Yes, and were the Giants were the Giants weren't picking 2 that year? No, the Giants didn't pick 2 that year, and I don't think people thought like this team's a dumpster fire and going to be picked. You know what I mean?
They picked 5th.
Yes,
that year.
But yes, I understand. But I think the Giants at that point were way ahead of where Washington is. Washington's trending in the wrong direction.
I hear you on that.
Like, they don't even have a quarterback. Like, at least you could say at that point, like, the Giants had a quarterback, or I guess at that point they didn't know how long Jones was going to be there. But
they
still,
didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
I digress.
I don't know. It's interesting just because our team's going to want Wink after all this tension with Daboll, and the reports came out of him kind of overstepping his boundary and reporting straight to the owner and kind of sidestepping Daboll, who's the head coach. Like, he, like you said, a young coach, do they want a guy like that almost is going to like take control of not just the defense, but reporting to ownership, acting like they're almost a head coach as well?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it hurts Wink's stock a little bit.
Potentially.
The Bears fired their offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. This is significant because this is a cycle that the Bears continue to go through where they draft a young quarterback, happened with Trubisky, happened with Fields, and it's going to happen with the new quarterback they take potentially, where they keep the head coach for one more year, fire the staff, and then you fire the head coach after the rookie quarterback's rookie year, and then he has to learn a whole new system in year 2. They did that with Trubisky. They did it with Fields. Did that affect their development? Most certainly.
Yeah,
and now you're keeping Eberflus, and you're firing the offensive staff to bring in a new offensive staff for your young quarterback who has to now learn another system. So now if you do bring in a rookie in Caleb Williams, if they don't perform next year, pressure's on.
I hope they don't.
They're going to fire Eberflus. Now you have a whole new staff, and now your second-year quarterback has to learn a new system, which just delays the development.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they should keep Fields, but we'll see what happens. But I think the fact that they're keeping Eberflus because that defense was so good, I think They will know that they can build their team, which I already think is a playoff caliber roster. I think they just need to get the quarterback position and fill a few more holes, which they can do by keeping Fields and trading away, because they're going to get a haul for that first pick.
Absolutely, they will.
And they still, what do they have? They have 9 right now. If they trade back, they're going to have 2. Like, it's going to be another top 10 pick.
Top 5, probably.
Yeah, probably, most likely. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. And then, hey, it doesn't work out. Buy Fields, buy Eberflus, and then you got to figure out what you're going to do with the quarterback.
I hear you.
I just think, yes, while Caleb Williams is like supposed to be this next generational talent, I just think that what he can be is like it's worth the risk to take with what they have right now and what they can become with Fields as a quarterback and building that team.
I still lean take Caleb.
We got all offseason to debate it, though.
We do.
That we do.
Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah says, "It's certainly my intention to have Kirk back." Reagan, do you see Kirk Cousins back in Minnesota next season?
Yeah, I would say that's the odds-on favorite for where he'll go next year. I mean, clearly that team, they honestly looked better this year than they did last year, which is crazy to say because last year they were a playoff team. But this Vikings team this year looked better and more complete. It just, once you lose Kirk.
Yeah, well, they just were like undefeated in one-score games last year, which is, you can't repeat year over year.
And I think this would have been a playoff team if Kirk didn't go down. But, injuries happen. You could say the same thing for the Bengals and you could say the same thing for the Jets. So I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. It happens. But yeah, I fully expect him to return.
I do think Kirk will be back. The locker room loves him. He loves it there in Minnesota. He's a top 15 quarterback in this league when healthy. It's hard to replicate that, especially with where they're picking the draft in the middle. Like, do you want to? I mean, you have Hendon Hooker you took last year. He redshirted this year because of knee, but he's 25.
No, Hendon Hooker's on the
he's
Lions.
in Detroit. He's in Detroit. Yeah, my bad.
I was like, what?
Yeah, that's on me.
Hot take.
But do you want to take a rookie quarterback in the middle of the first, like a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix?
I mean, you could.
Or do you just roll with Kirk for another
year?
Well, you could. You have a competent roster that can compete for the what?
Well, I mean, you could do both. You could do both. You could give Kirk a 1 to 2 year deal and then let the other guy learn under him, develop, kind of like what we saw with Jordan Love and Rodgers, and let him sit for a couple of years, and then when you're ready, put him in. I mean, it's not the worst thing to let the quarterback sit. I mean, a lot of these guys get rushed in and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I hear you, but at the same time, Kirk's going to be, 35 years old? If you're going to use your first-round pick on a quarterback, you're kind of we saw what happened in Green Bay. Yeah, Jordan Love looks good now 3 years later, but who knows what could have happened if you got a stud wide receiver in that
True.
frame, or an offensive lineman, or, you know what I mean.
Yep.
All right, that wraps up the news. Drock, what do we got for questions?
Let's go, gentlemen. Jared got to the questions first.
What's up, Bear?
General question, what players have the most to prove in this year's playoffs?
Dak Prescott, right away, comes to mind for me, given his record in the playoffs. It's not very good, and Dallas always seems to choke and come up short. If Dak Prescott can be the quarterback to bring a Super Bowl back to Dallas in how many years? 30 years? He will be in that Ring of Honor. He will be talked about as a top 10 quarterback every year, and he will get paid a lot of freaking money.
That's funny. Let me just pull out my whiteout container. I'm going to white out Dak Prescott, replace Josh Allen, white out Cowboys, put the Bills. Everything you said. Just leave it.
Same thing.
Literally the same thing. We're just going to change the name and change the team. Same sentiment.
I like that.
Like, I mean, there's not much to add. Everything you said, you could just say Josh Allen and the Bills, because the same thing. Haven't gotten it done. I wouldn't say they quote-unquote choke, because they've always run into the Chiefs, but still, they haven't gotten it done. He hasn't reached the Super Bowl.
He's Super Bowl caliber rosters for the past 4 years.
Yeah, they've been the favorite. Like, coming into it, they've been favored. Like, there's been a couple years where they've been the favorite over the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So I guess you could say they choked, because if they're supposed to beat the Chiefs, then you're choking. And the fact that he's only been in one AFC championship game and he's been in the league since 2017 or 2018. He's been in the league for a while now. You know what I mean? So it's been a while, and he's another guy who hasn't done it. So I put him in the same conversation as Dak Prescott, where he got to get it done.
Also, a lot of people want to talk about Josh Allen not beating the elite because of the turnovers. If he plays a clean playoffs and wins a title for Buffalo, because they haven't won a title in ever, right?
Well, yeah.
They
I mean,
lost 4 in a row.
And I'm a guy
he'd be the Prince of Buffalo.
I'm not against Josh Allen, but I'm not as high as other guys saying he's like the best quarterback in the league. But I definitely would bump him up on my rankings if he even reaches the Super Bowl, let alone wins it. That's why I'm so high on Jalen Hurts, the fact that he got the Eagles there last year and played good in the Super Bowl outside of one turnover. So I think if Josh Allen gets it done, I'm definitely going to look at him in a much more positive way if he's able to even reach the Super Bowl, and then obviously if he gets it done. So.
All right, betting question. Any players that you think the lights will be too bright for?
The lights will be too bright.
I guess, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't even think there's a point in saying some of the teams like the Packers and the Steelers, we fully expect them to be bounced in the first round.
Yeah, you want to talk about Jordan Love, his first playoff game in Dallas. Dallas has gone undefeated this year at home. Their point differential, I believe, is like plus 21 on average at home this year.
But
that's a tough environment to go into. So
Yeah.
potentially playing at Jerry's World for your first ever playoff game.
But
Lights could be bright.
I think they'll have a good game, but I don't think they win anyway. Like if we're gonna go like long term, like lights may be too bright. I don't know. I mean, you could say the same thing with like Stroud too. Like he's already way overperforming. So
You could say Stroud, but at the same time, Stroud's playing at home as opposed to playing on the road in a tough environment like Dallas. If Stroud was playing in Cleveland, I would, I'd put more weight in that.
Tua. I think Tua's going to struggle.
Tua's going to be my next guy as well because it's going to be cold as hell in Kansas City, and Tua has struggled in the cold.
Well,
All right, let's hop to Evan Bordeaux. Got a general question.
Oh, Evan.
Bordeaux.
Which pending free agent benefits the most and or makes himself the most money with a strong playoff performance?
Ooh, I like that.
Well,
I tell you what, CeeDee Lamb has a contract coming up, and after his dominant season, if Dallas wins the Super Bowl and CeeDee Lamb eats like he did in the regular season, he's going to be the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. So he can make himself a bag. Jordan Love, if he goes on a run, because they picked up his fifth-year option, but it was negotiated down, his salary, if they make a run in the playoffs, I can see Jordan Love just getting a flat-out extension, and he can make himself a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Like 100%, if they were to go on a run, he would get a big extension.
I also want to go Baker Mayfield. He's a pending free agent. Him and Tampa Bay have already said they have mutual interest in getting a deal done. I believe Baker only made $4 million this year. I think with
I thought it was $8 million.
With incentives, it was higher, but I think it was a $4 million guarantee. That's why.
Guarantee. Okay, I was going to say,
making the playoffs, get a couple $1 million bonus, winning the division. So he can definitely up his earnings if they were to go on a run, potentially beat Philly, Dallas. Little teaser for later.
I mean, could we say Flacco? Like,
you could say Flacco. If Flacco
what
goes
happened?
on a run with Cleveland, who's not bringing in Flacco next year?
Let's see who else.
Even despite his age.
I mean, CeeDee's a good one. I mean, Odell, you could say, could fetch a big contract if he goes on a big run in this playoffs because he's also a pending free agent.
I also feel like if they go on a run, I feel like Odell's going to want to go back to Baltimore.
Yeah, but that still means he's going to get a decent-sized contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, there's got to be a couple other guys that I'm not thinking off the top of my head.
That's all I got, man.
All right, yeah. I mean, are there any running backs that are on the last year of their deal?
Tony Pollard.
I mean, yeah, Tony Pollard actually is one that has a lot to gain.
Yeah, because he had a very subpar season after getting franchise tagged, and I can't imagine Dallas wants to give him a long-term contract after that, especially when you have to pay CeeDee Lamb.
I'd say DeAndre Swift and Gus Edwards, too. I mean, they're both I'm more so DeAndre Swift, I'd say, because if the Eagles, if they go far, they got to get that run game going. So, and if they get the run game going, that means DeAndre Swift, who's had a pretty good year, because we've seen them dominate some teams early on when they heavily relied on Swift. I mean, he had a good year, but I agree there was better candidates. But he did actually no. Why don't you agree with that? Who would you have put over him?
Barkley.
Why though?
Because Barkley was the entire offense.
But who had more rushing yards?
Swift is just in a phenomenal offense behind a top 3 line.
But who had more rushing yards?
He's better on paper, but if you want to talk about who are the best 3 backs in the NFC, Swift is not a top 3 back in the NFC. I would say,
but you got to go with
Gibbs is better than him as well.
Yes, but you got to go on the production and what they did. You can't put in all the factors. What he did was that, and also it is fan voting. So the Eagles are a good team. The Giants are not a good team. So, but
fan voting is a part in it. It's not the whole. It's not the whole picture.
But do you think he would have gotten in if
Dexter
fan
Lawrence
voting
got in, but he wasn't top 3 in fan voting, which it's just stupid because Dexter Lawrence is a first-team All-Pro voted on by the.
But that's my point. The fans do sway it a lot because that's why.
I know. I hear you.
But
also,
still,
Barkley missing 3 games.
I think DeAndre Swift will be a guy that could fetch a big contract if he has a good.
I wouldn't pay him. I wouldn't pay him at all. Just look at what he did in Detroit. He's always been behind a great offensive line, and he struggled to stay healthy until this year. He even missed a couple games this year. He's never been behind a subpar offensive line. I just would not pay Swift. I would not touch him.
I mean, yeah, you probably wouldn't, but somebody's going to pay him. If he goes off on this playoff run, some team will pay him. It could be a bad team, but somebody will pay him.
Maybe.
We see stupid Miles Sanders got paid last year.
Yeah, but he got paid what? How many? 8 million? 8 million a year?
Yeah, that's still pretty good for where he's at. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's the same situation as Philly.
Yeah, but my whole point is you're not going to... I'm not saying DeAndre Swift's going to fetch top dollar, but he's still going to get a contract for multi-years if he goes on a good run. We're talking about guys who have the most to gain.
I don't know. If after
he has a lot to gain.
If he does, I mean, I guess, but at the same time...
what does he have to lose?
But at the same time, if Jacobs, Barkley, and Pollard didn't get paid after last year, I don't think he's going to get anything big.
Miles Sanders got paid, man.
Yeah, but not a ton. He got paid a solid deal.
But the thing is, the guys you're comparing Swift to, teams don't view him in that way. So the question was, who has the most to gain here? He has a lot to gain here because he can go from that maybe $3 to $4 million range to that $8 million range, which is significant to gain. It's more of where the player's at and what they can gain for themselves. I'm not saying he's going to go from $4 to $5 million to top in the running back market.
I don't know. I'm just saying with the running back market, with the pending free agents, Jacobs, Barkley, Pollard, Henry, I just don't think he's going to be getting a lot of money. I think he's going to be in that $5 million range.
But that's why he has a lot to gain here.
Okay, whatever.
Because he can get in that conversation is my point. You know what I mean? Those guys are already in the conversation, so if they go off,
yeah, but
that you go. I think you're missing what I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying, where he can gain more money, but I just
yes,
think
and
NFL
that was the
GMs aren't
question.
see
But
it.
that was the question.
Yeah, but I
here.
just disagree with how NFL evaluators are going to see the performance.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll put a pin in this and then come the offseason. But if he
fair.
has a bad playoffs, then it really won't matter because then my whole point is isn't there.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Austin.
Austin.
General question: has Trevor Lawrence's stock dropped after this season's performance, and where does he rank among QBs for next season? And what's his fantasy value?
I mean, his stock has definitely dropped. I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely dropped.
ultimate choke job. I mean, he was a guy that people were saying could be top 5. Now is he top 10? I don't know. I can't say for sure. I mean, there's a lot of other guys around him that played better this year. So
He's fringe top 10.
his
Fringe.
stock definitely dropped. Fantasy wise,
What was he, QB like 14 this year? I know
Yeah.
he got beat up towards the end of the season, but he was
still-
picked as a top 8 quarterback, given his age, given his pedigree from Clemson, 5-star recruit, national title, best prospect since Andrew Luck. You know, washed out his rookie year because of Urban Meyer. Doug
Yeah.
Peterson, he was great in his second year. People thought he was going to take that jump. The Jags team was going to take a jump, and it looked like it early on. But early on, it was mostly because of that defense, not because of Trevor.
yeah.
He didn't throw for a lot of yards. So I think certainly, I'm not touching him top 10. I mean, maybe around
No,
10.
I still think he'll be a
Around
top
10.
12 quarterback next year. I think that.
He'll still go top 12, but I'm not taking him 7 or 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they bring in any other weapons. And
Especially if you
obviously,
have guys that surpass
a thing
them,
to be
like
noted,
C.J. Stroud.
once Kirk went down, a lot of struggles happened on that offense. But still, if you're regarding him as a potential top 5, top 10 quarterback, you got to still keep your team afloat. Like, you can't choke like that and miss the playoffs. And it's not just him. It's a team sport, obviously. But, it's the quarterback league. So when the team's doing good, you're going to give the quarterback the most credit. And when they're doing bad, they're the first one to blame. That's just the league it is.
Facts.
Thank you.
All right. Let's hop to college football for 2 questions. What rookie in this year's draft will make the biggest impact to their new team and why?
Oh, I see what he's saying. Like, guys entering the draft who will have the biggest impact next year. Well, I guess it really depends on... It's hard to say because we don't know where anyone went yet.
All right, I'm just going to say Caleb Williams to the Bears. If he lives up to his draft status, that's a playoff team next year. A wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, potential landing spot, given the top 3 most likely go quarterback. That could really transform that offense. With Kyler fully healthy, now he has an offseason to prepare. Maybe you bring Connor back. I know he's getting up there in age, but he's still producing. You add Marv in that receiving core because I don't know if they're going to pay Hollywood.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Probably not because they still have Michael Wilson, who they drafted this year, who's showed some flashes.
Yeah,
and McBride's there too. So
I think you can bring in
I'd
Marv,
say probably-
who's better than
probably
Hollywood, probably right now, save a lot of money to allocate to the rest of your roster. I think he can have a big impact. And I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a stud as well. I think wherever he goes, he elevates the ceiling of an offense. A lot of people have him right now in that 5 to 6 range, the Chargers or the Giants.
I'd be shocked with the
The
Chargers.
thing with the Chargers, because I see receiver too, and I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. But you got to think about, they took Quentin Johnson the first last year. Didn't really look good as a rookie, but they're far over the cap that are they going to move on from Mike Williams?
I think they
is
just
what
have
I'm
bigger
thinking.
holes to fill right now.
I agree with you 100%, but
So
a lot
I'd
of
be
people are
shocked.
mocking receiver to the Chargers given their cap situation.
Yeah,
Because
it'll be
Keenan Allen's
interesting.
getting up there in age. I know you just took Quentin Johnson, but even this year, Mike Williams missed virtually the entire season.
Keenan Allen might be getting up there in age, but he also did have his best season.
Yeah,
so
he's a beast. He's a
that's
beast.
why I'm saying for them to take a wide receiver at 5 after drafting a wide receiver in the first round last year is crazy.
If I'm LA, I'm taking a tackle.
Yeah.
And I'm pairing him with Rashawn Slater to protect Justin Herbert. That's what I would do, because you can't go defense at number 5, in my opinion, in this draft. But, yeah, I think Malik Neighbors could elevate an offense for sure, particularly in New York if he goes to the Giants. Also, if you want to talk about offensive linemen, if either the 2 tackles go to the Jets, it just elevates that offense significantly.
Yeah, I'd like that very much.
All right. What is your guys' top 5 college football teams for next season?
I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm not going to go in order. I'm just going to rattle. You have to go Georgia. They're just too dominant. They recruit too well. I think Texas has to be up there with Quinn Ewers coming back. They brought in a lot of good transfers as well. I want to say Michigan, but at the same time, if Harbaugh's not there, if he decides to go to the NFL, do the floodgates open with the
Oh, you're saying the
transferring?
floodgate with their like intern head coach? He's going to start crying again.
yeah. Like I want to say Michigan, but if Harbaugh's gone, the floodgates could open to the
Just
transfer
say like
portal.
today before without knowing anything.
All right, so Georgia, Texas, Michigan. Can't go Washington. They're losing too much. Can't go Bama with Saban retiring. You don't know
Yeah,
who's
because we
going
do
to
know
be
that.
there.
Yep.
Oh, man. A lot of people. I'm going to throw a name out there. A lot of people are really high on Arizona.
Yeah, because they're. I
Their
saw that.
quarterback
He's
and
going to be one of the
running
most
back
bet
are
on guys. The
studs.
Heisman. Yeah.
Yeah, studs. So Arizona.
What conference are they moving to again?
They're in the Big 12 still.
Big 12.
And the Big
What do you
12
mean
is
still?
weak.
What do you mean still?
They've been in the Big 12.
No, they
No,
haven't.
they were Pac-12.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, where are they moving to?
Yeah, they're in,
I mean,
they're
I
in
know
the
for
Big 12.
basketball, like technically it's already started where they're all moved around now.
Yeah, they're in the Big 12, and the Big 12 gets an automatic bid to the college football play. Every conference champ does, but the Big 12 is one of the Big Four, so you get an automatic bye if you win that conference. So
Plus, they'll probably get at least one or two at large.
yeah, and with no Texas or Oklahoma in the Big 12, it's wide open. So
Yeah.
Arizona could be a team that shocks a lot of people, and then a lot of people are still really high on Oregon. Who do they bring in at quarterback? Do they bring in?
I forget.
I
I
want to
really
say
don't.
Dylan Gabriel.
They did. That's who it was.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel,
was
who's
him.
been in college for like 6 years, and he just lit it up at Oklahoma. So I think Oregon's going to be really good.
Okay, mine I will go with Georgia because that seems to be an easy one.
Counting for you.
I thought you were saying like stop. Okay, Georgia. Hot take. We'll throw out Old Miss.
Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, huh?
If he stays, because that dart seems to be legit over there.
Jackson Dart is legit.
Texas, just because, like you said, Quinn Ewers is coming back.
I also wanted to say Ohio State, just because I don't know who's going to play quarterback, but Judkins, the running back from Ole Miss, who was one of the best running backs in the country, just transferred to Ohio State right after Michigan won the title. So I think he's going to be a stud next
Okay,
year.
Ohio State, and I'm going to go with Oak State.
Oak State.
Mhm.
I did see some Oak State love in a couple of.
Dude, their running back is
12
a
team
stud.
predictions.
Their running back is a stud. And also, like you said, with some teams leaving the Big 12, it's a lot more wide open. And let's not forget, they were just ranked in the top 10 just 2 years ago. And what's his name? Gundy? Yeah, Mike Gundy. I mean, it's not like he's some random coach. Gundy. Yeah.
Let's hop to Michael Greta. General question. Who will win Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I know why he's asking this because he's got a nice future on Jalen Carter. But the funny thing is he was minus 5,000, and then he's gone down to like minus 165 with the emergence
What
of
do you buy
Will
him
Anderson.
at? Do you know what he bought him at?
Plus 650.
Will Anderson
Nice.
second.
Yeah. But there
Where's
was
Witherspoon?
he wasn't even like around there. There was actually another guy on the Rams, I forget his name, which we really haven't talked about him a lot, but he was close to 10 sacks on the year, and he came out of nowhere
I
in
know
the
who you're talking
conversation.
about. He's got a
I
funky
can
name.
I
right?
can pull it up real quick because it's just making us look like casuals without pulling it up. But a lot of that may have to do with Aaron Donald, but because he actually did lead the Rams with 9 sacks. I saw Kobe Turner out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So he was a guy that was shooting up. But I would say Jalen Carter, yeah, he's the favorite.
I will say though, like Jalen Carter fell off the back of the year while Will Anderson heated up, even playing through injury.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it helped Jalen Carter that even though he was like falling apart, like he still had that one touchdown against the Cowboys, the big return. So that'll help. But I want to say I still think it's going to be Carter, but I don't know.
And he also asked, how far do you think the Browns will go in the playoffs?
Well, we're gonna get into that in the next segment, Michael. You will see.
I would say there's a chance that they're not packing till after the confetti.
Bold take, my friend. Bold take. Hot take. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we get back, we're gonna tell you our Super Bowl brackets.
Woo!
Here at Around the Felt, we know that football Manhattans go hand in hand, and we only drink worse Manhattans, the best. Welcome back in, Felters. Before we dive into our playoff predictions, we're going to break down our regular season records. I don't know if Reagan wants me to, but I'm going to do it anyways.
I don't know if either of us want us
Money
to.
line. On this, week 18 money line, Reagan went 8-8. I went 11-5. Against the spread, I went 10-6. Reagan went 4-12.
Okay, but in fairness, like half those games, like you didn't know.
I knew, apparently.
No, you didn't know.
10-6. Now on the season, Reagan money line 156 and 114. Not bad, my little friend. I went 165 and 105.
Not bad. My even smaller friend.
Spread. I went 132, 129 and 9. Not good. I will do better for you guys next year. I need to be above 500 even more. Reagan, you got a lot of work to do for the Felters. 118, 142, and 9. How does it feel to be very bad at picking against the spread? You should fade yourself next year.
No,
You make a
the
lot of
issue
money.
is Colin uses Bleacher Report lines and like you can push, so like all those pushes would have been wins if we like used that half a point.
You use Bleacher Report as well.
No, I never do. I always use like a sports book, but you've decided to be like special about it. Next year, I will promise you guys I'll at least be like 60%. That's a promise.
Wow. Clip that. Someone clip that, please.
Yeah, because that's a promise. Fuck it, 66.667%.
All right. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see we each have our brackets up behind us. Reagan, the floor is yours. Explain your bracket, why you have certain teams going as far as they will.
All right, I'm going to stand up for this one. You know what? All right, kids, ladies, gentlemen, lock in here. So I have Cleveland Browns, as you can see, winning the Super Bowl. But how did they get here? Okay, so we're going to start out in the
Hot
top.
take!
So we're going to start out in the top left corner up here. First matchup of the day. They get it done in Houston. Big win here. Maybe 10 points, I say. Then we go over here. Miami versus Kansas City. Oh, like Dave said on the wheel spin. Brrr, brrr. Way too cold for the Dolphins. So the Chiefs move on here. Then we
Dolphins
go-
can't swim in the cold.
I have the floor. Anyway, okay, I'm messing with you. You're a good guy. All right, so we get the Bills Steelers. No TJ Watt. Even if they did have TJ Watt, that's a loss. All right, so we move up here. Eagles Bucks. Come on, Eagles are rolling. Let's be honest here. The Bucks and Bakers. Come on, everyone's out on the Eagles, and that's how I like them. All right, guys. Rams and Lions. Matt Stafford returns. What does he do? He gets a win. Then finally, we go down here. Green Bay, Dallas. Dallas rolls are at home. All right, guys, next round. So we go here. Browns versus Ravens. The Browns are the one team I think can beat the Ravens. The winner of this game is reaching the Super Bowl. I can tell you that. So if the Browns do lose here, the Ravens will make the Super Bowl. I think they have their number. This will be matchup number 3 on the year. I think the Browns get it done. Now, down here, Bills versus Chiefs. Chiefs offense is in shambles right now. Buffalo played them well when they played them earlier in the year. It's in Buffalo. How will Patrick Mahomes do in a road playoff game? We don't see him doing that much. I think the Bills get it done, setting up an AFC championship between 2 B-named teams, Bills, Browns. Then, on this side, we got the Rams and the 49ers, another division matchup. I just think the 49ers are way too talented for this Rams offense, and I think the defense can't hang with that offense. Finally, we get to another division matchup. Key theme going on here. We almost had 4 division matchups in the divisional round. And I think the Eagles get it done here. I just think they're the better team, and they have done it before. We haven't seen Dak Prescott do it before. We have seen Jalen Hurts do it before. So finally, Browns versus Bills. I think the Browns get it done here and get to the Super Bowl. And on the other side, we have another rematch. I think the Eagles get it done here, and I think Brock Purdy stays healthy this time, so there are no excuses. And in the Super Bowl, Joe Flacco gets it done for me. And all those people saying, what is wrong with this guy? They're apologizing. And a lot of people had said they want to do punishments. So we're going to be seeing Nick Walmart, I believe, doing all the punishments, as well as Devin Thomas drinking some mayonnaise. A gallon of it, I think he said. So a lot of punishments we'll get. So I think it's good if the Browns win. But Colin, stand up and show us what you got, kid.
All right. Now it's my turn to give you guys the correct bracket. Starting up top, you're wrong about the Browns. They're losing in the first round. I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, if this game was in Cleveland, I would have picked the Browns. The fact that Houston is at home, I'm taking Houston. Miami, Kansas City, as Reagan mentioned, Miami does not win in cold weather. I got stats for you on that as well. I believe they're 0-9 since 2018 when temperature is below 40 degrees. It's going to be 10. They're not winning that game. Bills, Steelers, come on. Buffalo's rolling. They won 5 in a row. No TJ Watt. Steelers are 1-9 in their past 10 games without him. Up top, Philly, Tampa Bay. Yeah, that's right. I got the Tampa Bay Bucks winning. The Eagles are struggling. They've lost 5 of the last 6. Jalen Hurts has a broken finger. A.J. Brown hurt his knee. Devontae Smith ankle. Too much going wrong. I got faith in Baker. He's got something to play for. He wants that contract. Rams, Lions. Matthew Stafford returns home and breaks the hearts of all Lions fans. Rams roll. Packers, Cowboys. I do think this game will be closer than people expect, given Cowboys' struggles in the playoffs. However, they are at home. They're almost unbeatable at home. Dallas gets it done. Here, Baltimore, Houston. Good run for C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans in their first year. Baltimore is too much for Houston. Kansas City, Buffalo. This game was played in Kansas City. I might have gone with the Chiefs. But we've never seen Patrick Mahomes play a road playoff game. Bills are still hot. They get it done at home. They finally get over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Up top, like Reagan mentioned, Niners are a juggernaut. They're too good. Rams can't keep up. Bad matchup for LA. Down below, yeah, that's right. I got the Bucks beating Dallas. Dallas chokes every single year. I'm not going to take them to the NFC Championship game. I don't
Giants homer.
Every year. Every single year they choke. Yeah, I got the Bucks beating Philly and Dallas to advance the NFC Championship for a date in San Francisco. Here, Baltimore, Buffalo. I think Buffalo gets it done. I'm not going to lie. I had Baltimore going far this season. They were my team. However, the Bills are too hot. Josh Allen finally gets it done and gets to the Super Bowl. Niners, Bucks, mismatch. Niners blow them out. In the Super Bowl, I think it's a phenomenal game. At the end of the day, the best team prevails. Granted, if they don't stay healthy, I might change my pick to Buffalo. But as of right now, they're too good to beat. San Francisco gets it done.
Wow, definitely an interesting bracket. Bucks going that far, that's a hot take. But hey, as you can see, my bracket's it's full of hot takes, so I'll give 2 for mine. All right, guys. Well, you got anything to say about my bracket? What do you think? What's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have Cleveland winning the Super Bowl is crazy. However, I went back and forth on the Houston game. I originally had Cleveland. I switched. But I do think Cleveland is a tough matchup for Baltimore, as you mentioned. Divisional matchups in the playoffs. When you play a team for the third time, you never know what's going to happen. The way the Browns play defense, I don't think it bodes well for Baltimore. I don't think they want to see Cleveland. We're in agreement on KC, Buffalo, and Buffalo getting there. I think you're putting too much faith in the Eagles given how their defenses looked and with all the injuries. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of tension in that locker room. I don't know if they have it in them to make a run like that. Now, if come on, they're favored over Tampa Bay. If they beat Tampa Bay, I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't think they have the juice to get to the Super Bowl at this point. Other than that, I think you're all right.
Thanks, man. Yeah, yours outside of the Bucs. I mean, you were hot on those Bucs. I don't know if you're trying to get Baker Mayfield to see it and invite you back down to Nashville, but that is bold, my friend.
Yeah,
Very
me and
bold.
Baker meet up in Nashville after he gets to the NFC Championship. Maybe get him on the pod. Baker, come on, we need you on the pod.
I don't know if that
Remember
takes
our time in Nashville.
That take kind of says like I like Baker a lot, and I'm a Giants fan, and I hate the Cowboys and the Eagles. But
no, the only reason, clearly Dallas is a more talented team than Tampa Bay. There's just shockers every single year, and I think Dallas, even though they're going to be playing at home, they haven't been beat all year. That's the one I'm most sketched about. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I would.
It's a hot take.
It 100% is. I could not. It would be very hot take if they. But hey, if it happens, it happens. But I would be shocked if they go and beat both of those teams. But
well, I'm calling it.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to break down. What's up, guys? It's Colin here from Around the Felt. As you can see behind me, we got our hoodies. They're relaunched. We got a week to get your orders in. We got blue, white, red, and black. Make sure you get yours before it's too late.
Welcome back into Around the Felt. Next up, getting into every matchup. You heard our brackets. I got the Browns. Colin has the Buffalo Bills. No, I'm kidding. The 49ers. Sorry.
Dude, at least get my fucking bracket right.
Sorry, I only care about my bracket. Sorry for his cursing. Family-friendly stream. All right. Well, you want to get into it? Let's start with
first game on the docket. Cleveland 3-point favorites on the road at Houston. The over/under 44.5. You guys know Reagan's got the Browns winning the Super Bowl. Reagan, why did they get it done in Houston?
Well, actually, maybe I was going to go Texans. No. I got the Browns here. Honestly, man, this just is a more complete team. Like, this defense is scary good. Like, you could say they're the best defense in the league, right? I mean,
I would push back against that, and I will get into that in a little bit.
You could push back, but they're definitely in the debate as one of the top defenses in the league, no?
Top
okay.
10.
Oh,
they're ranked
all right.
like 10th.
Okay, all right, fine. So he's not as high on him. I think this defense is really good. Joe Flacco's been balling out, playing out of his mind.
Bang.
Yeah. But he slangs it. It don't matter how old he is. He's going to slang it. He's got the playoff pedigree. He's actually 5-0 in the wild card round. I don't know if you knew that, but
I did know that. It's
5-0 in the wild.
He's 6-0 against the spread for his career in playoff openers as well.
Okay, so 5-0 in the wild card round. This guy doesn't lose. He doesn't know what a loss in the wild card round is. He's never heard of it, never met it, and it ain't going to be this week. You know what? Somebody's got to get their first loss in the wild card round, and I reckon it's going to be C.J. Stroud. So I think the Browns. You know what? Joe Flacco steps it up, slangs it, and then on the defensive side, I think they limit C.J. Stroud and they struggle here because I think it's going to be hard for them to establish a run with Devin Singletary, and I think it's a lot to ask out of C.J. Stroud against a very good defense.
So like I mentioned earlier, I did go back and forth on this game significantly. I had Cleveland winning it at first. I acknowledge that both teams are hot coming into this matchup. Cleveland won 4 straight before they rested their starters in Week 18. Houston won 3 of their last 4 to get into the dance. Cleveland, 3-5 on the road this year. Houston, 6-3 at home. And I do acknowledge in Week 16, Cleveland did beat Houston on the road 36-22. That was the game in which Amari Cooper had 265 yards, a franchise record, on 11 catches with 2 scores. Flacco slang that thing for 368 and 3 touchdowns. However, he did throw 2 picks. Ultimately, this is what swayed me. Cleveland has the 31st ranked defense on the road this season, allowing 29.4 points per game. C.J. Stroud at home is 6-2, averaging 310 passing yards a game with 17 touchdowns. That's what swayed it for me. I saw that. I'm like, okay, if this game was played in Cleveland, totally different thought process. It's well documented. Cleveland's better at home. Now, one thing that does, this was an interesting stat that I saw, Reagan. Offensive Rookie of the Year winning quarterbacks, which we're assuming Stroud is going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I don't like to assume things, but yes, it looks like
They're 0-3 when making their playoff debut in their first season, and all three lost to veteran quarterbacks. That's why I was initially on Cleveland. I was like, okay, Flacco's been here. He's done it. He has a ring.
Yeah, he's never lost.
And he's playing phenomenal football, and I'm not going to deny that. And that does scare me. However, I think C.J. Stroud has all the swag in the world right now. I do think the Young Bucks at home get it done. And I think they're going to score a lot in this Cleveland defense that you mentioned earlier.
Foolish. Very foolish.
All right, Reagan. Miami at Kansas City. The Chiefs are 4-point favorites at home. The over-under, 44. Reagan, I know you're back at the Chiefs. Tell me why.
Yeah, I'm back in the Chiefs here. It's more honestly that Miami's very fraudulent. They choked down the stretch, man. They're not going to play well in the cold weather. I fully expect this game to be low scoring. I think Kansas City actually wins it 17-10. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle to rely on the run game. I think Miami, while they like to establish the run early, that's not the brand of football they want to play, and they like to run on the outside a lot with A-Chain, and it'll help getting Mostert back. But I honestly think big game from Pacheco here. I think they're going to rely on him a lot, but I think they're going to ground and pound it, and I think that Kansas City defense is going to step up and make life hell for Tua. So, yeah, I expect Kansas City to roll here in a defensive battle.
Kansas City did beat Miami in Week 9, 21-14 in Germany. Now, this is not Germany. This is an Arrowhead in January. And it's projected to be 10 degrees with wind chill potentially below 0. That is an atmosphere that Miami does not thrive in.
I don't know if you heard the quote, but one person was quoted saying it's going to be brrr.
That was drunk. Now, I have a stat here from John Ewing on Twitter. The Dolphins in cold weather games, less than 40 degrees since 2017. They're 0-9 straight up, 2-7 against the spread. When you get below 0 temperatures in January with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that's not good for Miami, given their history.
No, sir.
And when you take into account that Miami's only signature win this year was against Dallas 22-20 at home in Week 16, I'm just cautious about my expectations for the Dolphins. And even in that game, Tua only had 193 yards and a touchdown. Do you think he's going to do better than that in 10 degree to negative 10 degree weather in Arrowhead?
Not expecting it. No.
I'm not expecting it. And this Kansas City defense is ranked second in yards allowed. Only the 49ers have allowed less touchdowns. So I agree with you, Reagan. I do like the under in this one.
Yeah, watch it goes over and Miami puts up like 40 on them.
Yeah, I mean, that would just shock everybody. Now, one thing I am concerned about with the Chiefs is this offense. They lead the league in drop passes, and Kelce in his last 3 games, 3 catches for 16 yards, 5 catches for 44 yards, 5 catches for 28 yards. This team cannot go deep in the playoffs without Travis Kelce being the Travis Kelce we all know, particularly what he's done in his postseason career. If Kelce doesn't heat up, this team is in trouble. Even if they beat Miami in this one, they'll fall to Buffalo the next round. All right, Reagan. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. The Bills, the biggest spread on the docket, 10-point favorite. The over-under is also low, 36.5, given that winds are expected to be around 30 miles an hour in Buffalo for this one. Why are you backing the Bills? Do you have the Steelers covering?
Yeah, I went back and forth. I actually do have the Steelers covering because I think the fact that the wind's going to be a big factor in the over-unders at a low total. I think this just screams defensive battle, low scoring. I think Buffalo wins, I don't know, 17-7. So it's like a barely covering, and like the Steelers might score late. I like what I've seen from the Steelers' run game as of late. In Buffalo, you can beat them on the ground because obviously Matt Milano, their big run-stopping all-pro linebacker's been out. So it's a lot different when you look at this whole Buffalo front. And honestly, if the Dolphins stuck with that run game last week with A-Chain, like that's where they were gashing the Bills. They were not gashing them with the passing game. So I think if the Steelers are to keep this close, it's with running the ball, managing the clock, and playing good defensive football. So I actually do think the Steelers are tied going into halftime, but then Buffalo pulls away in the second half. I think it's going to be 7-7 at halftime.
Reagan, I agree with you. I have the Bills winning, and I do have the Steelers covering. When you have 30-mile-an-hour winds, that just screams a big day on the ground. That Steelers defense is very good, but you're losing T.J. Watt, and they do not win without T.J. Watt. Both teams are 11-6 to the under this season as well, so we're both in agreement there. I acknowledge that both teams are hot coming in here. Buffalo 5 in a row, Pittsburgh 3 in a row. However, without T.J. Watt and with Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback, I don't have faith in this Pittsburgh offense to keep up with the Bills. I think it's a big day for Josh Allen on the ground. I think James Cook has to improve from his last couple weeks because he was hot towards the back end of the year, but he didn't play particularly well against Miami in the week before. So we need James Cook to heat up. I think it's a control game on the ground. Najee plays well. He continues his hot streak, your boy. Steelers keep it close. Ultimately, the Bills have too much talent for this one. All right, Reagan. Transition. Green Bay at Dallas. Dallas 7.5-point favorite at home. The over-under, a high total, 50.5.
And I think the over hits in this. I'm going to be honest. I think this game is extremely high scoring. I do think Jordan Love plays well, but I just think it's just not enough. Like I genuinely think Dallas puts up close to 40 points on this Green Bay offense.
Do you think Green Bay covers 7.5?
No, I don't. I think it ends up being around 40. I think Dallas puts up 42 points and Green Bay puts up about 20. But I do think Love still has a good game on the stat sheet. But I just think this defense is not going to be able to stop this high-powered Dallas offense.
Yeah, this Dallas team is
because honestly, we haven't really seen Green Bay look great on defense. They've kind of put it together recently, but it's against a lackluster Bears offense with Justin Fields and Jaron Hall half-led Vikings offense where they got up big and it was like
it bailed them out.
And
they were a terrible streak.
They were banking on slanging that thing to bring them back.
Yeah, this Dallas team is legit. They're ranked top 5 in total yards, scoring defense, and opposing yards allowed. They've averaged 37 at home this year. They went 8-0 at home, winning 6 of them by 20 or more. They're a juggernaut at home. There's no doubt about it. However, Green Bay finished the season 6-2. They're hot going into the postseason, which is what you want to see, particularly from a wild card team. And during that stretch, Jordan Love has averaged 268 yards per game with 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. Dallas is very good at turning the ball over, particularly Deron Bland. That's something to definitely take in consideration. If Dallas is going to force turnovers on Jordan Love early, I think this game can get out of hand. However, I do have Green Bay covering the 7.5.
Wow.
The Packers have averaged the 3rd most points per game on the road this season, and the over went 7-2 in games that they played on the road. I'm also in agreement with you. The over is going to hit. And they're 2 times being dogs by 6 or more points this year. We're against Detroit and Kansas City. They won both games outright. Considering that this team has such a young offensive core, for them to do that is very impressive. I think they won't be scared at the moment. I think Jordan Love does enough to keep them in the game. Ultimately, Dallas is too much at home. They get it done. Sunday Night Football, Reagan. The return of Matthew Stafford in Detroit. The Rams at the Lions. Lions are 3.5-point favorites. Another high total. I love to see it. The over-under, 51.5. Reagan, you've been calling it for weeks now. The frauds are going to lose in the first round.
Yes, they are.
Tell me why.
The Rams get it done here, man. I just think the Lions' secondary is weak, along with their whole defense. I think Matthew Stafford lights them up, goes for 300-plus easily. I think you can even take 350. I think Puka and Cooper Kupp are both flirting with that 100-yard mark. I wouldn't be shocked if they both go over it. I think they both could score a touchdown here. And let's not forget, they still have Kyron Williams, who has been, if not for McCaffrey, probably the second best running back on the season this year. He's been super efficient, getting a ton of rushing yards and a ton of touchdowns. So I just think the Rams' offense is too much for this Lions' defense. So I do think it ends up being close, but I think the Rams edge them out by about 4 to 5 points. So if I had to give a score, I'd say the Rams win 28-23.
I like it, Reagan. I'm also taking the Rams.
Really? Okay.
The Rams have been here before. It's Cora's championship pedigree. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Sean McVay. And in games that Stafford has Kupp, Nakua, and Kyron Williams, his full arsenal, the Rams are 6-2, averaging more than 26 points per game and 400 yards per game.
Wow.
This Lions defense, we've been documenting it, is not good. Since their bye, they're allowing 25.6 points per game. I do think it's a high-scoring game. I think the Rams will struggle to contain the Lions, but the fact that Sam Laporta is not in the mix is a huge, huge problem for Detroit, I believe. Now, they're going to have to rely on Amon-Ra in that running game. If the Rams can contain Montgomery and Gibbs, it'll be huge for their chances. Ultimately, I think Matthew Stafford gets it done, breaks the heart of all Detroit Lions fans.
Fair enough.
Last but not least, Monday Night Football, Philly at Tampa Bay. The Eagles are 3-point favorites. The over-under, 44. Reagan, tell me why you're back in Philly.
Yeah, I just think this is a team that's been there, done that. Like, you could say the same thing with the Bucs. They still have a lot of guys returning from that team, but let's be honest, it's not the same Tom Brady-led Bucs Super Bowl team. It's same DC, but now he's the head coach. So I just think the Eagles, they were there last year. Like, this is a team with Super Bowl aspirations. I find it hard to believe that their whole season collapses, like, all in one. Like, they've been losing a lot recently, but I just really can't see them losing in the first round. Like, I feel like they're at least going to make it to the second round. I just think they're way too talented, even with the injuries. And also, you could say, yeah, Hurts is banged up, but so is Mayfield. And it's like, if you take both quarterbacks out of play, who has the better roster? It's Philly. So I do think this game is closer than expected, but I fully expect the Eagles to get it done here. And I think they're going to rely more on the run game because, let's be honest, when you have your two best wide receivers banged up and your quarterback, best medicine, run the damn ball. So I think Swift has a huge game here.
I love that you mentioned that because the Bucs are stout against the run. I'm taking Tampa Bay to win outright in this one, and I'm backing my boy Baker.
It is interesting because it's one of the best running teams against one of the best run-stopping teams.
Yeah.
So something has to give here.
Who's going to prevail at the line of scrimmage? And Philly at the line of scrimmage has not looked up to par for their standards in recent weeks. I will acknowledge, on paper, Eagles are certainly a top 3 roster in football. I don't think you can dispute that. They're definitely top 3. I'd go Philly, San Francisco, Baltimore, probably.
Yeah.
That's 3 rosters on paper, right?
Yeah, and Buffalo you could throw in the mix too.
Yes. There were reports coming out when they were 10-1 that they're the most miserable 10-1 team in NFL history. I don't know what's going on. We don't know, but something with the coaching is off. They lost both coordinators. People underestimated the impact that can have on a team. Steichen to Indianapolis, Gannon to Arizona. Although they were winning, it wasn't pretty. The defense was never clicking on full cylinders this entire season, and we were waiting for it, and they were squeaking by up to a 10-1 record, and then finally it all collapsed. They've lost 5 of the last 6. I will acknowledge Tampa Bay lost to Philly in Week 3. However, these teams are totally different now. Tampa Bay has won 5 of the last 6. Philly's lost 5 of the last 6. One team's coming in hot, one team's coming in cold. And also, Philly has struggled against the blitz significantly this year. Giants just exposed that in Week 18. That's when Hurts broke his finger. They looked out of sync. I understand Devontae Smith wasn't there. A.J. Brown left early. But the Giants were all over Jalen Hurts in that one.
Yeah, they have more issues than just that.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
And Tampa Bay blitzes at the 3rd highest rate in the league. Stop the run. Blitz Jalen Hurts with his beat-up wide receivers. Philly offense struggles. Defense has been struggling all season. I think the Bucs get it done at home.
Fair enough. It'll definitely be interesting, but I'm damn excited. Who would have thought we're already at the playoffs?
Dude, it's wild,
I remember
man.
we were
I'm
talking
so
about
pumped.
the division breakdown.
I'm so pumped. Yeah, back. We've come a long way, my friends.
We have come a long way.
Hopefully you guys agree with us. We've grown this thing significantly to the time we are now at the playoffs. We're about to hit 1,000 followers. Can't thank you guys enough for that. But to see where we are right now, man, it's awesome. I'm excited for the playoffs. Man, can it be Saturday already?
I don't know, man. I wish it was. But hey, it's Wednesday, so we'll just have to wait. But let's keep talking, man. I could talk football all the time.
Me too, man. A couple of the boys from the pod will be in New York City on Saturday, watching the games out at the bars. We'll get some reaction videos for you guys,
Yeah. If anyone wants autographs. But it should be interesting. Maybe you'll see Colin freaking out when his bracket is busted to my Browns in the first game.
Well, when Houston busts your entire bracket in the first game, I have Houston losing the next round. You got Cleveland winning the Super Bowl. So when Houston and C.J. Stroud, the Young Bucks, get it done in the first one, when you're crying, it's all right. I'll still be out.
If the Browns lose, this podcast is over. So if you guys want this podcast to continue, you will become Browns fans.
All right, guys, that wraps up our Super Wildcard Weekend Prediction Pod. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
That's nice.
That was good, boys. That was awesome.
That was phenomenal, man.